Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mortgage Tech Talks. I don't know what that voice was, but welcome back. Today, we get super specific. So, if you like specifics, this episode is for you. We've talked a lot about AI on this program, pretty much every episode. How are people using it at a high level? Today, we get specific. I'm going to show you three, and actually a bonus fourth, specific prompts that you can use. You can type into ChatGPT to go to chat.com, type these things in, and it'll give you answers that will actually help your mortgage business today. These are impactful tools. We deal with them all. You can see the types of results you get, how they actually can be useful, and how you can actually use these tools in a unique way, how they can unlock new behaviors and new business practices for you. My goal with this is to just get people to start using these tools because they are so powerful. They can do a lot of great things. They do have limitations, but just start using it so you get used to it. I think it's a great episode. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to another episode. Let's get right into it here. Like I said in the intro, we talked a lot about generalities about AI and how it can unlock your business. But in today's episode, we're going to get super specific. I'm going to give you specific prompts, things that you can use today in ChatGPT. Type it in to get real impactful insights that'll actually make a change for your mortgage business. So we're going to keep it relatively high level. We're also going to try to dig in where we can. So let's get right into it here. I'll share my screen. For anybody who's just listening, I will be reading it out loud just so obviously you can follow along. But there's three kind of categories, prompts that I've queued up that I think each of them have their own unique way of delivering quite impactful, results, information for your mortgage business. So let's get into it here. So yeah, for those watching, following along on YouTube, I will share my window here. Okay, so the first one here, and it is a little bit zoomed out. I apologize. Let me zoom a little bit, but I'll read it out loud, of course. So what it says here, I am a Canadian mortgage broker living in Toronto. I've been in the industry for about 3 years. I have some clients, but not a massive book of business. For my clients, I've primarily focused on first-time home buyers, some refinances, most of them with A lenders, but I've done a few private deals too. Right now, the market's a little bit difficult. New purchases are at a multi-year low, and most people don't want to refinance because rates are quite a bit higher than they used to be. And even for renewals, since Canada has a 5-year renewal cycle, again, I put that in there because, so ChatGPT is a little US focused. So yeah, renewals are coming up, but most borrowers are staying with their current lender, again, because of low rates. I am quite eager to generate new business. What are some top strategies that I could implement to take my business to the next level? I am willing to go that extra mile because this is the work that puts food on the table for my family. With that said, I don't have a lot of capital, both financial and time to invest, and I need a return relatively soon. So that's the prompt. I'm going to hit enter in a second, but I want to talk about a few things that I've done in this. First of all, I speak to it like it's a human. And honestly, that's the most effective way I found working with a tool like ChatGPT. Instead of trying to do something super structured, like I think about when I try to do a Google search and I think about the smartest way, maybe I'll do a couple different Google searches and I'll kind of combine them together. You don't need to do that with ChatGPT. Honestly, the more you talk in like a natural language against either natural LLMs, large language models, the more you talk just in kind of your natural language, the more context and the better the result I find actually going to be. And it's a nice boost for you because you don't have to have this cognitive overhead of how do I actually put all these pieces together. The other thing that I think is really important is, like a person, the seriousness of the response will reflect the seriousness of the question. So that whole part at the end of saying, hey, this is the business that's really putting food on my table. Don't mess around with me here, right? Give me a straight answer. Give me a serious answer. That's important. And honestly, it's going to change your results when you do that. And finally, I think it is really important because it can go so many different ways with an answer, adding some constraints, saying, hey, okay, this is what I'd like to do. I'd love to do it, but I don't have a lot of money. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars to invest. And honestly, that's probably something you should even put right in here. And I don't have a ton of time. I need a return relatively soon. So that's the prompt. And let's see what happens. We've hit enter. So again, for those of you following along, you can see it kind of coming up on my screen here. But for those who are just listening, I'll start reading it out. So it says, hey, I won't read every exact detail because there's a lot here, but I'll give you the high levels here. So what it says, hey, based on all this, it basically says, hey, for renewals, win the stayers. So whatever that means with stayers, I think it's people saying, staying in there with their current lender, but still win them, right? So create that renewal outreach, use a CRM, and basically emphasize what it's saying here that, hey, at least a conversation could save you quite a bit of money. You may be leaving some money on the table. Partner with realtors, another great suggestion, of course, but doing it strategically, right? So again, probably realtors are in the same position you are with a tough market. And so giving them this one here is to offer to co-create a first-time buyer toolkit. So these are strategies we've talked about on this podcast before, but actually giving value to the realtor so that they're eager to work with you. Next one, become a niche expert. Again, another thing that we've talked about on this, looking at maybe self-employed buyers, newcomers, divorces, gig workers, and things like that. All keep going down. Client reactivation blitz. I don't know if that's as powerful. Just basically saying, reaching out to people who kind of went silent on you, ghosted you, seeing what's going on there. Number 5 is putting on just a daily video on social, short story, gets a little bit of a following going. And then number 6, join a local WhatsApp referral pod. I don't actually know what a referral pod is, but in any case, those are the 6 there. So I mean, each of those have their own thing to it. And maybe someone listening is like, oh, that's a good idea. That's not really the point of this podcast, this episode, to go one by one if they're good or bad. The point is just to show you how when you can put a prompt like that in, you can get it back. And really the most value, I think, in terms of using ChatGPT is then the follow-up conversations to say, hey, do you know what? I kind of like that idea. I like the idea of becoming a niche expert. That makes sense to me, but it seems to have a longer time horizon than I was hoping for. What's a niche that is fairly underserved that if I start addressing it today, I can, I don't know, provide value for clients ASAP? So this is really, and this isn't, I was just kind of me off the cuff, but wanted to show you the point of this particular, I think, a huge piece of ChatGPT. Again, it's not a Google search where you just get something and then you get a result and that's that. It's a conversation. It is a back and forth. The more you use it like a chat, the better results you're going to be here. So looking back, yes, having a time sensitive niche, talking about that consolidation for these renewals. Great example, right? Really shows you how these tools are quite smart and have a really great understanding of where the market is right now. So mortgage renewals with debt consolidation, private mortgage rescue, right? So people who maybe 2021, 2022, when things were going to the moon and, there was nothing stopping the real estate industry, people maybe took out some private mortgages in a little bit of trouble and you could reach out to them. Or number 3, divorce brings that up again. It's interesting there. So again, I won't go through all this, but that's a really interesting example. So that's number 1 there. Basically, the whole prompt around this was, hey, I need some business ASAP. What can I do? And I think for anyone listening, try something like this. Add your constraints, your scenario, that sort of thing. See what comes back and then have that conversation. Go back and forth with them. Okay, number 2 here, similar but different. I basically said in this case, I'm looking a little bit further in the future. I'm not just saying, hey, I need some money today. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit better about things. Maybe I tried one of those strategies, but I'm thinking about my business on a much higher level. So I'm a Canadian mortgage broker in Toronto. That's the same. I've been in it a couple of years and have had some success in the industry, but I have ambitions of being one of the top mortgage brokers in Canada in the next 2 to 3 years. Can you please take a look at the mortgage market over the next 2 to 3 years? And what should I do now to position myself to be most effectively win in this market or in that market? Specifically, what markets should I focus on? What tools should I invest in now? And finally, what skills should I develop? Now, before I hit enter, I do want to highlight in the top right corner here, this models drop down. So if you're familiar with this models thing, this is going to be old news. But for anyone who isn't, this basically gives you different types of responses. So the default is this 4.0, and that's what we used last time, 4.0. It says it's great for most tasks. But if you're doing other tasks, based on, maybe this one here, it says great for writing and exploring ideas, great for quick coding if you're coding. But the one I really like is the O3, which is used for advanced reasoning. And basically what it is, instead of just kind of quickly off the cuff going, it'll actually think. So the O3 is like a thinking model where it doesn't just, we're kind of saying, hey, before you answer, give it some thought, double check your work, make sure that it's the right thing. And so With this one, given that it's just not some off the cuff strategy that maybe I'll try, this is something that's going to define my business over the next many years. I want it to think. I want it to take that time and slow down and really think of what the best possible thing is. So I've changed it to the O3 and I'm going to hit enter. And what you can see is it's thinking. It'll actually show you that it's thinking. It's not just going to give you an answer right away. It's taking in all these things. And as it's thinking, it's telling you what it's doing. It's just so crazy, right? It says, hey, first off, we're going to forecast the mortgage market. Then we're going to start gathering insights in that forecast for 2027, right? I said 2 to 3 years. So it's not just responding and just throwing something out there. It's actually going step by step by step. And it's almost creating questions for itself, just like I created questions for ChatGPT in the previous example. It's almost creating questions for itself. So it's taking my one prompt and it's creating a bunch of smaller questions that it's asking itself and getting answers. And in the end, it's going to piece it all together and provide a very cohesive answer from here. So it's still thinking, even after all of my talking, all my blabbering there, it's still going. So there's a lot going on. So I'm going to actually skip to the next one here. This is the third prompt that I want to talk about. We'll circle back to that one there just to see what actually came, because I don't know how long it'll actually take. But this is the third prompt, and this is kind of a fun one, but it just again shows you the power of these tools. And I think the point of this third one I'm about to show you is how I really want to challenge everyone listening to this to be as creative as possible. Don't let your current constraints of how maybe Google works, again, I'm going to use that as an example, not have anything against Google, but this is really just like a person you can have a conversation with. And so get creative. Think of all these very creative things. So this is my creative example. Maybe you can tell me it's not that creative, but I thought this was cool, which is I said, hey, ChatGPT, I'm looking to use ChatGPT to improve to the day-to-day operations of my mortgage business. Specifically, I want many time-saving ideas that might seem small in the moment, but once added up over an entire year leads to massive time savings. Can you provide your top 5 use cases of ChatGPT to achieve this goal? And I'll hit enter. And so again, another prompt, really, it's kind of like the first one in the nature of it. Hey, I'm trying to do something. Give me your top ideas. But this one here, just another example of that. I'll read out just if anyone's curious of what it came back with. But I, again, wanted to show you this example. One, to show you how you can get really creative with this. And another reason I'll show you in just a sec. So what did it come back with? Hey, here are 5 impact, low effort ways ChatGPT can save you hours each week as a mortgage broker. 1, email drafting and follow up templates. I think a lot of folks maybe listening to this are already doing that, but it has something here where it just says, hey, how? Ask ChatGPT to draft personalized replies to typical client questions, rate inquiries, document checklists, follow ups, whatever, right? So build templates like, hey, just checking in, any updates on the purchase offer, these types of communications it can help with. Client document checklist generator, instantly create tailored document checklists, feed ChatGPT a summary of the deal, and ask it to have a PDF-friendly checklist to send to clients. Pretty cool. CRM note summarization. So for those of you who are using a CRM, obviously we're big advocates of CRMs. And basically it's saying, hey, once you have a call, maybe you have a bunch of messy notes, throw it into ChatGPT, ask for a clean summary, and that's something you can put in your CRM. Bonus tip here, this is a little outside this. What I recommend as a top tip is to actually use an AI note taker, something that can actually join calls if you're doing Zoom, things like that. And those AI note takers can automatically integrate with your CRM. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but that's just a cool one there. This one, awesome. I love this example. Deal scenario explanation. This is one of my favorite ways to use ChatGPT. I'm so glad it had this idea because I honestly didn't have it planned for this episode, but I think it's such a powerful piece of ChatGPT and how it is so different than, again, I'm going to keep saying it, something like Google. It says deal scenario explanation, get a second opinion or structured ideas. Client is salaried with 20% down payment, but also owns a rental with a HELOC. What's the best way to structure this deal for a lender approval? It's so great, right? And people don't think of it that way because people are still trying to use ChatGPT to replace a Google, but you can actually just use it as a brainstorm partner, right? You can put this in, and maybe I will in just a second just to see what happens. And then you can go back and forth and be like, well, that won't work because he's self-employed, or hey, this won't work because there's actually this weird scenario. You can actually use it as a brainstorm partner to structure these deals and find solutions that maybe you wouldn't have thought of anyways. And then number 5, marketing and social media content. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this number 4, and at risk of having this um, podcast episode get away from me here. I'm just going to put it in a separate tab. If we get to it, great. If not, no worries. But what I did want to show in this is something that actually is also very cool about ChatGPT is that it's non-deterministic. What does that mean? It means basically if I do the exact same prompt again, I might get a different result. And so that's what I wanted to show here. And maybe I'll get the same result. I don't know. But I'm just going to go back to my top. I'm going to hit edit message. I'm not going to change anything actually. And I'm going to hit resend. And like before, it shows, hey, here's some things. But look at this. It's already different. Isn't that cool? Where instead of saying, remember, it was smart email drafts and templates, this is saying smart email and text drafting. So it's different. Hey, pre-qual script assistant. Awesome. So cool, right? So again, these are completely different ideas. So you can start stacking these together is what I like to do. I like to do multiple prompts sometimes and see where the overlap is, right? So, okay, I ask it many times. It keeps coming back to this idea must be a good idea, right? Or just getting brand new ideas. That's the power of a tool like this. And again, this is really an unlock for a lot of people, I hope, of new ways you can use this and how it's not just going to replace your old tools and make it more efficient. It's going to allow you to do new activities in your business. So this one here, basically saying, hey, make a script for that discovery call. Love it. FAQ builder, lead sorting and email categorization, sure, or just an ongoing campaign copy, right? Almost completely new, but all also very good ideas. Okay, we got a couple loose ends to tie out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back over to, remember I was talking about that thinking model of saying, hey, I want to get ahead. I want to be a top mortgage broker in the next 2 to 3 years. What should I do today? So I go back here, that thinking process, it actually took about 57 seconds. So not a huge amount of time, but still a little bit of thinking. And here is the result. Again, I'm not going to go through all this, but the high levels, payment shocks are coming up. Yep. We know that. And what's really cool, if you're seeing it here, but I'll describe it for those listening, it actually references the articles. I got Canada Mortgage Trends, I got BMO Economics of where they're getting this information. So sometimes, honestly, ChatGPT isn't 100% correct. So I always like to check those references just to be certain. Price and volume, slow price growth, demand, our immigration isn't what it used to be, but there's still a little bit of tailwinds. And then regulatory and / tech shifts. Talks a lot about new regulations, greener homes, sure, but also reverse mortgage balances are pushing higher, which is interesting. So, what are some niches to focus on? Talking about new immigrants, debt consolidation for these payment shocks, renewal rescues, even reverse equity release for senior Canadians. Interesting. And then, hey, what are some good tools worth looking at? Doc capture and e-sign stack, absolutely. An AI copilot, talking about things like this right now. Again, more or less the prompt that I just did. Data tools, Purview for accurate AVMs and equity release modeling. I mean, we're hearing a lot about those. We've had people on the podcast who are using tools like OwnWell, like BrokerBot, like NetTrack, these types of tools that will help with that. And then finally, what skills that will really separate you is going to be how you can structure your deals, financial planning fluency, digital marketing and creator tools, but also data, bringing that all together, data storytelling. That's how it puts it, which I think is a great thing of saying, yes, I can use the data. I understand data, but I can also present it to my clients in an interesting way. So that's pretty much it there. But I just want to show you different types of models. Again, this top left thing can generate different types of results based on what you're actually asking. Okay. And just for fun, just because I think we have a little bit of time, I wanted to do this example of, hey, I want to use ChatGPT to actually brainstorm with me of how I can do a structure a specific deal. So I'm going to add a little bit more detail because ChatGPT might not know it. It's like, I am a mortgage broker working on a deal and I need some help. Client is salaried with a 20% down on a new owner occupied home, but also owns a rental with a HELOC. What's the best way to structure the deal for A, approval? And I'm just going to do 4.0 just because I want to quick. I don't know if you saw that I very quickly switched models back to 4.0, which is, again, the everyday type questions. And I'm just going to hit send. See what it comes back with. So anyways, again, probably won't read this all. If anyone's listening, I'll read the super high level, but it goes through, it says, hey, I'm double checking the assumptions, kind of goes through that. And then it says, hey, what lenders will scrutinize absolutely that it's a HELOC sitting on that rental, and also just the fact that it's a rental property. What kind of cash flow does it generate? Obviously, all the right things. It's great to see. And then it actually goes through step by step how to structure the deal. So it's saying, hey, can you use a particular lender that uses a rental offset if possible? Wow, so cool. She'll only use portion of the HELOC and the liability. Don't show the full possible amount, but just the amount that it needs for the debt servicing. Again, that's maybe a little bit, obviously got to add your own layer to it to make sure that you're actually staying within the lines. Clarify if there's an intent to sell or keep the rental. Obviously, all very good. And then, hey, don't blend the HELOC with a new mortgage, but it could complicate qualification unless you use a lender like the Scotia Step. Again, you got to make sure that those are fully up to date with the latest lender guidelines, whatever. But the point is, and I won't go through it all here, I just thought this was a cool example of how you can actually use ChatGPT, start thinking through some of these things. And, you can come back and be like, no, that lender program doesn't work. And do you know what? This might or might not work for me, but I really like what you said about this. Let's explore that more. And again, have that conversation. Use ChatGPT as that brainstorm partner. So I'll leave it at that there. So just taking a step back, what did we do today? We talked through 3 with a bonus 4th prompt of how you can use ChatGPT. We used the example of, right now, what are some things I can use to generate more business? Great examples there. Then we switched models, went to the O3, the thinking model, to say, hey, how should I position myself over the next 2 to 3 years? And then we went a little creative and we said, hey, ChatGPT, how can I use ChatGPT to get it more efficient in my mortgage business? And that's where the bonus came from. It actually gave this example of using ChatGPT to be a brainstorm partner on deals. And that's what we just talked about. So hopefully this is interesting. I think at the very least, hopefully it gave people some ideas of how you can use ChatGPT, maybe some new ways you didn't know that's actually how ChatGPT worked, or just ideas how you interact with it. More than anything, my hope with this is just that people listen to this and say, hey, I want to get started. I want to try out ChatGPT. Enough's enough. Let's just get going. Because that's really what it is at the end of the day. That's where we're at in this AI cycle. We're hearing of all these crazy tools out there. Some of them are going to be amazing. Some of them are going to be complete duds. What I know for sure is that there's value in using this tool, and there's value in us as mortgage professionals getting smarter on how to actually use the tools. What's it good at? What's it bad at? What are its limitations? What's it amazing at? And the best way to do that is just getting started. So I hope that's the takeaway people get from this, is just saying, hey, I want to get started. If you do have any comments or questions on this, I'd love to hear it. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next week.